Softly now. Allow the present day to recede. Let the quiet of your room settle around you like a well-worn cloak, the hush of distant traffic or night air blending into a single steady note. Take an easy breath in, then out, and picture a narrow ribbon of cobbled street glimmering beneath a pale English dawn. Our doorway to the past. Tonight, we travel to the middle of the 14th century, to a modest market town in England, at the height of the Great Plague. Though history often records this pandemic with numbers and borders, we will linger with the rhythm of ordinary souls, who rose each morning beneath a horizon thick with dread, yet still baked bread, whispered prayers, and cradled hope in quiet corners. Drift with the cadence of another era. Should sleep arrive, welcome it. Imagine yourself stirring beneath a straw-stuffed mattress in a timber-framed loft. The first sound that reaches you is not birdsong, but the measured toll of a single church bell, low, resonant, deliberate. 3 chimes pause, then 3 more. It is the death knell. And already, before full light touches the windowsill, it marks another soul's passing. You exhale slowly, measuring the warmth of your breath against the cool, musty air. Stretching stiff limbs, you notice rafters laced with spiderwebs. Made silver by dawn, a thin veil of dust hangs motionless until you swing your feet onto the plank floor. Beneath the faint tang of wood smoke from last night's hearth lies a sharper scent. Vinegar steeped with rosemary and lavender. Strips of linen, soaked for protection, hang brittle on a peg. Down the ladder, you pass a row of tiny leather pouches, pomanders stuffed with cloves and juniper. Folk wisdom says their pungent bundles guard the body from plague mists. You tuck one inside your cloak, its sharp aroma mingling with the earthy smell of sheepskin. Outside, faint light washes over narrow lanes. Thin ropes stretch across certain alley mouths, nailed hastily to doorposts. They mark households under quarantine. To cross them invites fine or fury. A smear of red paint swings on one shutter. Lord have mercy. You walk toward the town fountain, clutching a wooden bucket. Cobblestones are slick with dawn dew and lye water poured nightly to scour surfaces. 2 cartmen pass, heads bowed, pulling a handcart draped in rough canvas. Beneath the cloth, a shape moves, not at all. Their destination is the churchyard outside the southern gate, where, by lantern light, open trenches wait. At the fountain, villagers keep careful distance. One elderly woman fingers a pewter crucifix. Another presses dried posies to her nose, wincing at the city's sour undertone of unwashed wool and smoke. Water splashes into your bucket, cold and metallic, rings rippling outward in slow, predictable rhythm. The marketplace stirs reluctantly. Stalls once bright with fabric stand shuttered. A town crier posts a fresh notice forbidding games or feasts. Nearby, a physician in dark robes and a leather beak mask consults a parchment list, recording new names added through the night. Back home, your family shares coarse barley bread and watered ale. Conversation is sparse. Rumors drift in from the street, of Italian remedies, of cats blamed, of a comet trailing ash white across the sky. Such whispers swirl like autumn leaves, unsettling yet inevitable. Work continues, hunger permits no pause. Your father, a cooper, heads to his workshop, tools clinking faintly. You sweep wood shavings, trim staves, and listen to the reassuring thunk of mallet on hoop. Yet even here plague intrudes. A half-finished barrel, its owner buried only yesterday. By late afternoon, drizzle begins. Rain slicks the cemetery path, where diggers labor in rhythmic silence. Waxed cloaks repel the damp. Cloths cover mouths. One swings a mattock, another steadies a lantern, whose glow reveals clayey walls of a communal trench. Plank, rope, prayer, earth. No lingering. The bell will toll again soon. At dusk, rush lights flicker in windows, doors latch. You breathe night air tinged with peat smoke and burning resin. Inside, the hearth crackles. Somewhere beyond the walls, the church bell lifts its voice once more, slow, deliberate, unyielding. You pull your cloak tighter and lie down, straw adjusting beneath aching shoulders. The day's labors, the bell's lament, and the scented cloth at your throat mingle in a haze of weary resignation. Sleep, when it finally steals upon you, feels not unlike mercy. The night deepens, lantern flames gutter lower, and we turn to one particular voice shaped first by the warm scent of rising dough, and later by the cool hush of cloistered stone. Picture winding lanes of London in 1349, where Geoffrey rose before dawn to tend ovens near Cheapside. Hands dusted white with flour, he shaped loaves by feel, each carrying a quiet promise that tomorrow would come. Yet plague's shadow reached the bakehouse. Customers thinned, empty purses dangled, prayers replaced small talk. One sunrise, Geoffrey delivered alms loaves to St. Bartholomew's Church, passing chalk crosses and carts piled high beneath linen shrouds. The priest who greeted him lay feverish. The mayor pleaded for volunteers to ferry the sick and dig trenches in East Smithfield. Geoffrey stepped forward, first from duty, then from a deeper stirring. Nights afterward, his dreams filled with the creak of burial carts and the weight of damp earth. By autumn, his friend Matthew succumbed. Grief pressed like a millstone. Geoffrey attended Compline at St. Mary within the walls, where monks chanted plain tones that rose and fell like a breathing sea. Father Oswald invited him to help copy accounts of the plague, words that might guide future souls. On Candlemas, 1350, Geoffrey traded apron for habit, dawn fires for the gentle scratch of quill on parchment. In a wooden carol, morning light dappled calfskin sheets. Geoffrey dipped a goose quill into walnut ink and began, "In this, the year of grace 1349, pestilence hath visited our city beyond the memory of man." He recorded numbers and remedies, but also small acts of kindness, free loaves left on sills, a midwife who never deserted her calling, a bell ringer whose palms blistered from relentless tolling. Survivor's guilt settled heavier with every entry. At night he walked the cloister, reciting psalms until thoughts quieted. Oswald reminded him that ink is remembrance, and remembrance is service. So Geoffrey continued, noting the day, trenches closed, turf laid like a quilt upon the dead, and the first timid marketplace laughter. When new apprentices arrived, as plague ebbed, Geoffrey's chronicle grew. Travelers seeking news read his careful Latin lines, leaving coins for ink and parchment. Decades later, his manuscript rested on a cedar shelf, pages mellowed to antique bone, carrying a ghost of yeast and warm crust between lines. Though Geoffrey never sought renown, his steady words became a lantern for generations. Let the image settle. An elderly monk, quill poised, candle guttering low, while outside the priory garden, night-blooming flowers release subtle sweetness into the air. Take an easy breath. Feel the calm of cloister walls, the faint scratch of quill, the distant hush of wind through leafless branches. Step softly forward through the centuries. The priory dissolves, and in its place rises the muted rumble of modern London. At the edge of a grassy parcel east of the ancient wall, low morning light touches reflective vests and neat rows of wooden markers. Archaeologists kneel, trowels gliding in slow arcs. Soon the outline of interlocking skeletons appears, bodies laid shoulder to shoulder in long, measured ranks. With gloved reverence, they record each discovery. Numbered tags, fine brushes, cotton swabs, collecting soil, infused with microscopic traces of lives cut short. In soft laboratory lighting, technicians photograph remains, measure bones, read the subtle script of healed fractures and enamel lines. A fragment of tooth becomes a time capsule. Geneticists coax slender strands of biological memory into sequencers that hum like distant beehives. Years of incremental progress yield a nearly complete genome of Yersinia pestis from East Smithfield, revealing that the microbe that ravaged medieval Europe lingers still in certain rodent burrows today. Debate continues over bubonic versus pneumonic spread. Scholars weigh weather patterns, transmission rates, and eyewitness accounts. In labs devoted to heritage aromas, scientists recreate plague fumigants of rosemary, vinegar, and pine pitch, analyzing antiseptic compounds and noting how such scents may have calmed anxious minds. Bones tell of bodies, genomes tell of pathogens, trace elements recall dietary shifts after harvest failures, recreated scents tease out emotional landscapes of fear and hope. Beneath modern London, the plague pit endures as grave and classroom. Its occupants, though silent, teach about our impulse to remember and to honor. Breathe in slowly, as if the air carried faint traces of rosemary and juniper. Breathe out, releasing any lingering tension. Now the hush of the excavation site drifts away. Picture-wide torchlit corridors hung with woven arras, candlelight reflecting off polished flagstones. You enter the great hall of Kenilworth Castle in the early 1370s, guest of John of Gaunt. The air is warm, tinged with spruce log smoke and drying herbs overhead. A basin of rose water shimmers for cleansing dusty fingertips. Soft notes of a rebec drift from the gallery. A long oaken board stretches beneath fine linen. Pewter trenchers, silver salts, and glazed jugs await. Stewards glide, laying trenchers of manchet bread. Sideboards groan beneath sugar paste castles and marzipan falcons, wordless declarations of power. Trumpets sound softly. The first course arrives. Pottage of almond milk infused with saffron and mace, a gentle glow of spice. Gascon wine fills goblets, ruby dark and smooth. Nobles in velvet wear black ribbons honoring those lost to the plague. Privilege holds its shadows. Labor is scarce, wages rise. A yeoman purchases oxen of his own. Social fabric stretches quietly yet irreversibly. Servants present roasted peacock, lamprey pie, quince paste. Conversation turns to rebuilding churches and endowing almshouses. Humility lingers beneath velvet banners. A soprano voice sings of St. Sebastian's courage. Each sustained note dissolves into timbered rafters, cradling the mind. Dessert arrives, wafers of anise, creamed cheese with honey and cinnamon, figs preserved in rose syrup. Warmed hippocras spreads gentle heat through fingertips and heart. Beyond the hall, Stable boys laugh softly while grooming destriers. A young yeoman forester counts saplings, his wages reflected in a fine leather jerkin. He represents a burgeoning class who, in plague's aftermath, grasped opportunity from devastating loss. Return once more to the great hall. Candles burn down to pools of molten gold. Smoke drifts upward toward dark beams. Permit that stillness to seep into your breath. Slow, even, unhurried. The banquet hall fades, its torches dimming to soft embers. And with a whisper of imagined smoke, we return to the hush of your own room. Notice the calm of your breath, the quiet that wraps around you, lighter than velvet, warmer than any hearth in stone walls. We have walked muddy lanes at dawn, stood beside a humble chronicler's desk, listened to the whisper of DNA in ancient bones, and dined beneath heraldic banners. Through every shadow moved a quieter constant, the human impulse to endure and to give meaning. Kneading dough for neighbors, recording loss so it is not forgotten, sifting soil for answers, sharing harvests with those newly empowered to dream. Let that spark linger gently within you now. Perhaps you sense rosemary and juniper in the air, hear the muffled thud of a cooper's mallet, or see parchment turned beneath Geoffrey's lamp. Allow the images to drift. They are content to glide like lanterns across a midnight pond. Outside your window, clean water waits at a tap. A light glows at the press of a switch. Knowledge of illness travels faster than any plague cart. Acknowledge these gifts with a soft breath of gratitude. Then let even that thought go, settling deeper into rest. If sleep has not yet found you, return to any rhythm that soothed you, the measured scrape of a trowel, the cadence of chant in a cloister, or the hush of a distant hearth. Each steady beat invites eyelids heavier, muscles looser, thoughts quieter. Soon, perhaps already, dreams will unfurl, slow and unhurried, guiding you beyond cobbled streets and candlelit halls. Trust them. And should you wake in the small hours, remember that history's stories wait patiently. You may join them again whenever you wish, and they will unfold with the same calm measure. For now, rest easy. The bell no longer tolls outside your window. The air you breathe is cool, clean, and kind. Allow the night to cradle you, as the stars have cradled countless sleepers across centuries. May peace settle upon your thoughts like a gentle quilt, and may morning greet you with quiet gratitude for the simple blessing of a new day.